Welcome to the second part of active and passive voice. Part 2, for today we are gonna speak about using passive voice. The last session, we explained the form of passive voice, but this session we are gonna know why we need passive voice in our language. Active and passive, part 2, using the passive voice. Number 1, if the speaker knows who performs an action, usually the active is used. So if it's a normal idea, you don't want to make a stress on anything, okay? So it's better to use the active form. For example, Alice made this rug. Number 2, sometimes, even when the speaker knows who performed an action, we choose to use the passive with the by phrase because we want, pay attention for the part, because we want to focus attention on the subject of a sentence. So here we concern about the object of the active sentence. That is more important for us, okay? So here we talk about the rug. So the main idea here is the rug. So it's better to change from active into passive. So we'll start with the rug. This rug was made by Alice. Okay? So if you see a very beautiful rug and you talk about the make of it, so you can say this rug was made by us because that is the main focus. Sorry. So the focus of attention here is on the rug. Okay? Number 3, the by phrase. The by phrase, it means the word by and what comes after it, okay, either noun or pronoun. We call it the by phrase, is included only if it's important to know who performs an action, okay? So, if it's important to tell the listener who did this action, okay, so you can add your passive sentence, you can end your passive sentence with a by phrase, okay, as in the following example, where by Shakespeare is important information, okay? So imagine that someone is reading a play called King Lear, okay? So you want to tell him that this play was written by Shakespeare. So King Lear was written by Shakespeare. Okay, so the main focus here is King Lear, the play which was written by whom? By Shakespeare. That's why it's important here to tell us who wrote this nice play. Okay, so King Lear was written by Shakespeare. Okay, next, usually the passive is used without a by phrase. So sometimes, okay, we don't need the by phrase at the end of a passive sentence, okay? So the passive is most frequently used when it's not known or not important to know exactly who performs an action. If it's not important to tell the listener who did this action, who performed this action, okay? Or you don't know the doer of the action, so you don't need to end your passive voice with a by phrase. Okay, let's have some example for that. Rice is grown in China. Do you need to say farmer, people, someone? Okay, you don't need to say that. Number 2, English is spoken everywhere. Okay, so who can speak English? People. Okay, so people speak English everywhere. So it's not important to tell the listener by people. So English is spoken everywhere. Number 3, our house was built in 1873. Do you know the builder of the house at this time? Of course not. So it's not important because you don't know the doer of the action. So here you don't need to end your passive with a by phrase. Okay, some more examples that you don't need a by phrase, like number 1, my sweater was made in England. Do you need to tell us who did that? It's not important. Number 2, the new highway will be completed sometime next month. Do you need to tell the government will do that? You don't need to do that. Number 3, language skills are taught in every school in the country. Do you need to tell us the teachers will do that? You don't need that. Language skills are taught. Beethoven's 7th Symphony was performed at the concert last night. the World Cup soccer games are being televised all over the world this year. It's important for you to know who would televise that. Of course, it's not important information. Okay, that's part two. How to use. Why do we need a passive voice into our language? The next part is a simple, very simple exercise for you. You need to take your time to solve this, do this exercise. Okay, if you got some important information, if you got the main idea of this session, please don't forget to comment, subscribe, and like, and share, of course. Thanks a lot.